you all the time.
Make out with your neighbor.
Y'all sit down because we need to have a talk about Natalie Nunn and the show some of y'all love so much, Baddies. I don't see enough people talking about how Natalie Nunn, who has had a very colorist past, is in charge of a show that exploits and degrades Black women. Why is this okay and why is this normalized? If you guys didn't know, Natalie Nunn was on season 3 or 4 of Bad Girls Club, and she was very colorist to the Black women on the show. And mind you, she was probably 24 to 25 around this time. Like, she definitely knew better. Around this time, she made a lot of anti-Black tweets, even saying that she didn't identify as Black. And I was like, okay, so you don't identify as Black, but now you're gonna come into the Black community and literally have a show that exploits Black women and target it towards other Black women to consume? Let me pull out the receipts to show you guys just how degrading she was to women on the show.
Her nose looks like a gorilla nose.
Dark-skinned girls never seem to like me. Ghetto girls at Hideout just don't work out very well. Do you let Black people in your bar often? I really feel bad. I'm so sorry.
He beat up his girlfriend. Why would I let
Who
somebody
cares? Because she was a punk. She got her ass beat for a reason.
Now, before I go in on Natalie Nunn, we need to talk about the Baddies auditions. And mind you guys, I do not watch Baddies. I have seen clips on TikTok. But oh my gosh, I watched one of the auditions with my sister years ago, and I have been traumatized ever since.
$5,000. Slap her.
ticket for?
Slap her. Down on your knees, turn around and twerk.
I find it a special kind of disgusting when you know that these women are waiting in long lines for hours looking for opportunities. And when you finally see them, you are telling them to make out with each other, urging them to fight, telling them, take off your tops, literally chanting that at them. And honestly, I don't think it is consensual because I think that there is a power imbalance. And when people are exhausted or when people are desperate, they're going to do things that maybe they'll regret later or maybe they're uncomfortable doing. They're going to feel pressure to do. And let's be honest, let's be so dead ass. If Natalie was a man chanting at women to take their tops off and chanting at women to fight each other, to make out with each other for their pleasure and to profit off of, this show would not even fucking air. And I'm sorry to curse, but it is just so disgusting. It wouldn't even air. So the fact that she gets a pass to do these things is insane to me, and how it is so normalized and looked at as, let's just kiki about this, like this is funny, this is a spectacle. No, a lot of these people and these women that are auditioning have children. They're looking for a way out, and you're going to exploit them and broadcast it on your show and encourage them to degrade themselves. And to make matters worse, most of the people she casts are influencers or connected to celebrities. So these women don't even have a fighting chance. And you know that. And you're well aware that they don't even have a fighting chance. The chances of them being cast on the show are very, very slim. And you're chanting at them to make out, to do all of these things so you can get the most bang for your buck, basically. It's really gross. I don't know how this is acceptable behavior. I don't know who sees this as acceptable behavior. And before you guys shout at me about empowerment, about how it's empowering for women to own their sexuality and make out with each other and take their tops off, in this case, with the auditions, they do not have control over how this is filmed or how this footage is used. So how is this empowering? When they lack control, you just have Natalie shouting at them to do all of these things, and they're in a vulnerable state. And just because you think that these women sign up for certain things does not mean that it's okay. It does not mean that they should be further exploited. Not to mention the girls that are in these auditions don't even get paid from this. They are literally just used as props to promote the show. These girls are just used as entertainment. They're not even getting paid for all of the shit that they're doing. Not to mention there's no HR, there's no intimacy coordinators there. There's just judges, security guards, and other girls willing to fight for your spot. And I know that this behavior from the show is so normalized and we as a society are so cooked, but when you sit down and really think about the things that take place in these auditions and in the show, you will be dumbfounded if you have any type of morality. Now let's get into the difference between Bad Girls Club and Baddies. So in Bad Girls Club, the auditions weren't typically broadcasted, and regular girls had a chance at getting in to Bad Girls Club. And it was more about reforming the behavior. And I'm not saying it wasn't messy or exploitative in any sense, but it did have a more diverse cast that focused more on everyday people with, you know, personalities that stand out, who have some sort of behavioral issues, and kind of focused on giving them an arc of change. Even the later seasons had group therapy sessions. They had a therapist there that would talk to the girls. And a lot of the girls that did go on Bad Girls Club did come out, you know, changed or did fix some of their behaviors in a sense. So it was more about like a redemption arc. And I think that's the difference with Baddies and Bad Girls Club, is Bad Girls Club did focus on change in the women. You know, in Bad Girls Club, we had girls talk about their traumas and bond, but Baddies doesn't even have an arc. There's no character arcs, there's no real bonding anymore. It's just chaos and fighting and we get money. And I'm not saying that Baddies only cast Black women, but it is mostly centered around Black women, and it is directly profiting off of harmful stereotypes of Black women. Baddies is edited to profit off of dysfunction without providing us any sort of nuance or complexities. It is more focused on entertainment than personal growth. And Natalie is not just a cast member, okay? She has a say in how the story is edited, how it plays out. And I can't even imagine how Natalie's colorism trickles down into production and the storylines that take place and how these cast members are portrayed, and even how she treats these girls behind the scenes. There is no HR to check Natalie. It's just Natalie running the show. Natalie treating these girls how she wants to treat these girls. And that is extremely, extremely harmful. And it's like, why would anyone really want to speak out against Natalie? You are at risk of not being cast again. And this is a big bag for these women. This is how they eat. The fact that there's no real system to check Natalie's biases and how she treats these women, and she's just allowed to degrade them and play instigator amongst them, is extremely harmful and something I don't see anyone else really talking about. This kind of power is truly dangerous to the cast. And I won't be surprised if 10 years from now, probably even 5, there's a documentary on the mistreatment of women in the cast by Natalie Nunn and Zeus Network. That is something that I actually predict that is going to happen. And when I say this, I'm not saying that white women don't fight and white women aren't messy and white women don't participate in degenerate behavior. But do you notice the difference in shows that have a majority white woman cast versus the shows that have a majority Black woman cast and how they're portrayed? That's a real issue here. If any show portrayed white women in the light that Baddies portrays Black women, it would not be greenlit by any network, okay? Nobody would be okay with that. Feminists would be shouting from the rooftops about that fucking show. But because this is about Black women being exploited and how Black women are being portrayed, everyone's silent. It is because society protects white women's image more carefully, and they're okay with exploiting Black women's image for shock value. I'm gonna wrap this up by saying that we need to do better at protecting Black women and not supporting anything that exploits them, even if it's Black owned. And I'm not trying to shame or condemn anyone that watches Baddies, but I think that we need to do a lot of self-reflection if we get pleasure and joy and entertainment off of seeing Black women fight with each other, degrade each other, and be sexualized on television. It is extremely low vibrational, and I think that we as a society really need to step back and re-examine our beliefs and our morals. We need to rethink what we're giving our energy to and supporting. I know I was very passionate in today's video, but this is something very close to my heart and something that I take personal, as well as something that I don't think is talked about enough. But let me know your thoughts on Natalie Nunn and Baddies, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, bookies.